What are the best horror games on PC? Horror games tend to turn traditional action concepts on their heads and force you to run and hide from your enemies. Scary games leave you feeling vulnerable rather than empowered. And more than most, they are the gaming experiences that haunt you long after you play. Of course, there is a lot more to horror games than jump scares and gore, too. So while we have included a few obvious picks like Outlast and Amnesia, you can also expect to find games that use different tactics to raise your heartbeat and get your palms sweating. Don't worry about this list getting out of date either. We hop back into our lists regularly to add new scary games. Remember, as Roosevelt once said, "We have nothing to fear but that bit in where you're going up a ladder and Alma suddenly pops out." Hi Cody fam. Here are the best 10 horror games on PC in ranking review this 2021. Please watch and enjoy. System Shock 2 kicked a particular flavor of first-person survival horror games into gear. It boasts an open-ended structure with an endless maze of decks and quarters that promote exploration and discovery. It is a lot like being stuck in a haunted John Lewis, except with psychic death monkeys. The faster-than-light Von Braun is a persistent world that appears to exist and unfold even while your back is turned, building a heightened sense of place aboard the scarcely populated starship. But it is corrupted artificial intelligence Shodan who makes one of the greatest horror games to have ever graced our fair platform. Right up there with HAL 9000 and the soothingly voiced, yet subtly evil computer stakes, she torments and tricks you endlessly, transforming an already terrifying survival RPG into an isolationist horror classic. Few space games match sense of isolation. Sound does not get enough credit in horror games, and if you ever need a reminder of how powerful a simple scratching noise or a distant knock can be, seek out one of the best indie games to delve into the horror genre. Darkwood. This is a top-down horror game about a mysterious man cooking mushrooms in a house right in the middle of a plague-infested forest. When it is light outside, you are free to roam the festering woods, fighting off rabid dogs, collecting resources, and trying to figure out who you are and how you ended up here. By night, however, your only option is to get back to your house and wait for the horrors of the night to pass you by. You can load up your generator with fuel to ward off enemies, barricade the windows to hide yourself, and set traps as a last line of defense, but they are coming for you, no matter how well you have prepared. Ability to seep into your pores and haunt you without showing you as much as a limb is uncanny. Rustling sounds, inhuman shrieks, and creaky doors had us smashing the S key and walking away from the desktop time again. Don't let the top-down perspective fool you, this is one of the best horror games out there. Like your horror games, unflinchingly violent and heart-grippingly tense? Monolith's Condemed. Criminal Origins is an accomplished and effortless first-person frightener worth seeking out despite its decade-old graphics. Here is a homeless person fighting simulator in which you play the role of nocturnal crime scene investigator and human punching bag Ethan Thomas. Most remarkable for its lack of guns. Condemed. Criminal Origins is proper flashlight horror with terrifying, unwashed men leaping out at you from around corners and out of shadows. Coming out of a brawl alive means carefully timing your punches and patiently blocking your opponent's attacks, and in encounters with multiple enemies your best option is often to run away. It's unconventional as police games go, but the horror games genre could do with a little more. Condemed. Criminal Origins in their bloodstream. Alien Isolation is among the best games of 2014. It's a horror game about being stuck on a space station with a, spoiler, big scary alien, which, thanks to some devious AI and level design, is more terrifying than it ever has any right to be. As we discovered while writing our Alien Isolation review, this horror game is effectively a first-person hiding simulator. Your monstrous stalker can't be beaten, shot, or bashed into submission. The best horror games make you feel utterly powerless, and in Alien Isolation it is your wits, your knack for crawling under desks and into lockers, and a variety of distractions that will save you from the hulking Gajerian horror. A deadly creature who can appear at any moment, unscripted, and without warning. What more could you ask for from a horror game antagonist? The best horror games keep you up at night. By that metric, The Evil Within 2 screams itself to the top. You will certainly struggle to get to sleep after you have seen a pile of severed bodies skitter across the floor and assemble themselves into the form of a pale, fleshy mass of limbs with several faces, all of them laughing, and a buzzsaw in place of a right arm. Is packed with skin-crawling set pieces like this, each one as inventive as the last. But Tango Gameworks' impeccable sequel is much more than a list of the best moments in horror games. Slaying bosses and exploring spooky mansions are separated by open-world sections, where you never know what is waiting for you, some much-needed shotgun shells or a devious specter that will continue to hunt you for the remainder of your playthrough. Underneath the whip-smart enemy and level design, The Evil Within 2 stays true to its survival horror roots, always pitting you against one more crazed enemy than you have bullets for. If that's still not enough to convince you, then take a look at our The Evil Within 2 review. Leon Kennedy is having a rather difficult first day of work as a police officer. Fresh to the beat of Raccoon City, the rookie meets a horde of civilians that have been turned into zombies by way of an endemic disease. Capcom's adaptation of its beloved classic succeeds in faithfully keeping the original's survival-focused gameplay intact. If you intend to make it out of Raccoon City's police station alive, you'll need to count bullets and pick your fights wisely. Raccoon City isn't a place you can blast your way out of. Be it a precious few pistol rounds or a healing herb, you come to celebrate and savor every item you find. Facelift plays a starring role in the game's success as it swiftly turns into an ode to gore. As Chris points out in his Resident Evil 2 review, despite being limited in your arsenal of weapons, you're still encouraged to shove a grenade into a zombie's mouth and watch as its head explodes, sending wet gore flying through the air. It's hard enough as it is not to waste bullets, but the challenge is tenfold when shooting up zombies leads to such morbid artistry. Metro Exodus is a number of games packed into one inviting post-apocalyptic slice of Russia. It's a story-focused family drama as much as it is a Wolfenstein-esque, heavy metal-scored FPS. However, there are plenty of spine-tingling horror game sequences creeping en route to the climactic ending. For A games, Irradiated Outing allows you to choose whether you want Artyom's adventure to be a guns-blazing assault or a stealthy affair shrouded in darkness, thanks to the game's day-night mechanic. But if you choose to sleep through the daylight hours to creep up on your opponents in pitch darkness, then expect a much scarier experience. Human enemies might be on the back foot, but the chill of a howling watchman or the charge of a humanimal is excruciatingly unsettling. Yet, as we pointed out in our Metro Exodus PC review, this is a game that is at its most terrifying when it changes the rules. Early stages of the game teach you to extinguish light and master the shadows. Then, in the spider-infested bunkers beneath the Caspian Sea, it becomes your weapon. Your arachnid foes are fatally vulnerable to light, so they skulk about in any dimly lit crevice they can find. As their disgusting, hairy legs scrabble madly against the walls, it becomes apparent that you can never let your guard down. Horror games are a hard sell when you're not into them. The idea of setting yourself up for an evening of unnerving tension and jump scares doesn't appeal to everyone. And that's exactly why having a doggo companion in Blair Witch is such a welcome addition. Your fluffy pal, Bullet, is by your side at all times, and you can break up moments of unease by calling him over and petting him. The calming disruptions Bullet brings to gameplay, a loop of creeping around gray wooded areas, allows you to ease yourself into the terror slowly as you hunt for clues. Is mostly an experiential outing. You enter the famed forest from the movie of the same name to search for a missing boy. You are, of course, not alone, and many things will go bump in the night as your hunt continues. Bullet is always there as a guiding tool, however, and if a creature appears, he'll bark in its direction, giving you a subtle prompt of where to point your flashlight. So, if you're looking for a gateway game to help you get into the horror genre, is a fine choice. Phasmophobia has climbed rapidly in popularity since its early access release, outselling the likes of Baldur's Gate 3 and Cyberpunk 2077 on Steam. Phasmophobia has grown beyond a cult following and is showing no signs of slowing down. So what makes it so good? Is primarily a horror game. You could look at it as a co-op detective game, as you and up to 3 other investigators explore a haunted location in an effort to deduce what type of ghost is spooking out the premises before reporting back. It requires teamwork, your best detective hat, and steady nerves to navigate the dark. tight corridors and eerily quiet rooms. Using equipment such as Ouija boards, a spirit box, a crucifix, and smudge sticks, you and your team need to investigate the haunting and complete tasks such as taking a picture of dirty water or asking the ghost questions. Be careful, though, all your prying will likely upset the ghost, and you don't want to be around when it starts hunting. Bloober team has released yet another horror game, this time focusing on the plight of a medium. In this spooky third-person thriller, you play as Mary Ann as she works to uncover mysteries in the real world and the spirit world. Traveling between two worlds isn't a new concept in games, but the medium uses this feature effectively by having you traverse both worlds at the same time. Lurking around every corner is the Maw, a winged beast that slowly stalks Mary Ann in the spirit world. Featuring classic tank controls, fixed camera angles, and a haunting soundtrack. The medium seems like a great game for classic horror game fans and newcomers to the genre.